What's up, guys? Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lanturn, bringing you guys our Hive Kakuna Season 7 recap. I don't want to make this super duper long. The back end of the video, if you've seen any of my season recaps before, I'm cutting out a lot of the kill leaders and whatnot, and I'll just sort of talk about my roster when we get to that point. But there's some stats on there that I don't want to show here because they'll show up in later videos, so I am not going to include that. Bam bam. Alright, so first up, we ended up finishing 12th. So this is the standings page of the Hive Kakuna doc. I finished just outside the relegation territory. Furf is not going to play his game with Arf. And so since Arf is already locked, that's fine. He's already locked into 15th or 16th. It doesn't really matter because all four of these teams relegate. But yeah, the first not really feeling Mons, so he's opting not to play the game, and that means that I am confirmed 12th. So I will be staying in Hive Kakuna, which is really fun. You guys will have seen week 10 by now against Aaron, and I just barely missed out on passing Aaron and not even having to deal with that at all. If I had got one more differential out of that, that could have been good. But yeah, so unfortunately we did not make playoffs. I believe there's one playoff game that's been played so far, or two. I think Leo ended up beating Ben, but Ben already auto-promoted with the 3rd seed, and I believe Lapis beat Shiny. So the last two games are Jack versus Dougal and Justin versus Mio to see who is going up to B-Drill. If one of these teams wins the whole league, there's a 4th promotion spot up to B-Drill there. But these three teams auto-promoted Lapis, Jacknev, and Ben. Yeah, so that is pretty much that. There's more stuff that I could talk about on the Hive doc, but we'll come back to that later. So let's just go week by week and see what happens. So week 1, we took on Leo and the Mexico City Wallbreakers. I put myself in a position to win with Smash Blastoise, and then I got bluffed by Scarf Zeraora after I'd already seen Scarf Meloetta in that game, and I ended up throwing that one away. Definitely could have been a 4-0 win for me, and I think I ended up losing 4 or 3-0 on the backside. I think it was 3-0 on the backside of that. Not ideal in terms of how I wanted that game to go, and wasn't the best start to my season in general, but you know, you kind of just have to roll with the punches sometimes, and that's exactly what happened here. I built an interesting team for this one. I've got like Mega Beedrill, like Banded, Victini, Specs, Lele, which didn't really punch as many holes as I thought, and then this Blastoise that could have just won the game. And I set it up properly. You guys can't see it, but this Blastoise that could have just won the game. I set it up properly and then just fell flat on my face because I let my Mudsdale die early on, I think. And this wasn't even my Zeraora check, it was Lanturn, and I went like hard into Lanturn. Because he bluffed the Scarf, and so I'd already blown my White Herb after smashing, and it was such a stupid play in hindsight because my best play was just to attack. Like, it was actually always just to attack. You know, even if he was going to kill me with Plasma Fist, Scarf actually may not have killed me with Plasma Fist because of how much bulk I had. So I'm still not sure what I was thinking of, and the game absolutely would have been over at that point because there was no way. Because it wasn't Scarf, there was no way that Dragonite was two-shotting me afterwards, and so I got to break multi-skill with Ice Beam and then Ice Beam again. The only problem, I guess, would have been like a weakness policy Dragonite, which he wasn't. He was just a Dragon Dance variant. But yeah, so that happened. Week 2, we took on Jack, and this was pretty much a brutal smackdown. He brought physical Dragon Dance, Life Orb Hydreigon, which had to kill itself, and he made one really, really, really good play. So let's talk about my prep now for Jack. I ended up having to bring Rocky Helmet Victini as my best Mega Medicham answer, and he ended up bringing Rock Slide Mega Medicham, which just two-shot my Victini anyways. So that entire plan flew out the window as I got obliterated by Mega Medicham. In a matchup where I had a very Mega Medicham weak team, I had pretty much no answers to it at all, and it would have just absolutely torn through me. I tried just leading with Blastoise, smashing with it, and trying to get some kills right off the bat, but I wasn't able to kill the Aegislash, and it got me back. I was running a bit of a mix set with Rock Slide for what for the Araquanid, which didn't even show up anyways. So that was what happened in that one. Hoopa came as an AV set and did nothing. I want to say I'm pretty sure it did absolutely nothing. Because I was terrified of U-turn on a bunch of stuff, and he brought like Trick Room Mesprit, and then it was still faster than my Hoopa somehow, even though I invested in the Hoopa. So like he was running speedy Trick Room Mesprit that ended up outspeeding me later and U-turned me and killed me. U-turned on me and killed me. I think this was my Xurkitree check because it lost Signal Beam, so it was a really easy check to Xurkitree, which also didn't come. Yeah, this is kind of just embarrassing and just an absolute smash on his part, and I had absolutely nothing I could do about that one. Week 3, we took on Ben and the Baltimore Orioles. I actually felt like I played really well this game. I felt like I had myself in a winning position, and then I lost to Blunder Policy Sing Primarina, which there's really nothing I can do there. Honestly, that's just fantastic prep on his part, even bringing Sing in the first place, because either way, Sing won him that game. If he hit it, it's basically the same situation, but I can revenge it later, and if he misses like he did, then he procs his Blunder Policy, outspeeds my entire team, and one-shot almost everything at that point. I cannot remember what else I had in. Something tanked to hit, though, like a Surf. Crobat maybe tanked the hit and just couldn't kill back. I want to say it was that. He prepped well for my Self-S Hoopa. I don't think he's scouted my replays before, but I've brought this same sort of idea of a Hoopa as a Nidoking check in the past, and he probably just thought that that was a really good possibility, and I believe it was a mixed Nidoking with Megahorn that just smacked my Hoopa in the face instead of me taking any reasonable damage. But yeah, I mean, this was an interesting game. Like, again, I was kind of in a position to win, so I felt like I was lining myself up in a position to win with Victini. And then he ended up just beating me with Primarina instead. It was weird prep, and I'm kind of glad that Ben and I traded some mons around, because having triple steel on his team was kind of weird. Excuse me. And having triple psychic on his team was kind of weird. I believe he actually kept the triple psychic, but he at least traded me Heatran to sort of bypass his triple steel issues. Not that they actually share any weaknesses, because Heatran and Fortress... Heatran covers Fortress's weakness, and Celesteela covers Heatran's weakness, but yeah, he had good fires. I don't know. Ben played well all season, so I can't take anything away from him. That was just a really well played game on his part. Week 4, we took on Arf, and we won this game. I want to say reasonably handily, but if I'm being honest, I don't remember much about this win. I think Lanturn did something. Oh, Mega Beedrill was actually a really good win condition for me in this game, and he brought like super bulky Suicune that kind of was just out of range of a Fellstinger at one point. I know that I Fellstingered the Claydol or something. Like, the way that he played this game, and he did something weird with Charizard. I think I fully paralyzed it with Glare and then Dragon Pulsed it in the face or something. I want to say that that's correct, but because he didn't opt into Ferrothorn in this one, I don't remember there being a huge issue, actually. Like, Beedrill just kind of won this game, I think, later. But I can't remember exactly what happened. Oh, I remember another thing about the Ben game. I know I missed a bunch of Stone Edges. I was just kind of, like, clicking Banded Stone Edge early on in the game, and I missed, like, 2. And it could have gone a completely different direction if I'd hit Stone Edges, so Terrakion kind of failed me on that one. Week 5, we took on Colton and the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, and I hacked him. But to be honest, a lot of the stuff that he didn't bring was more threatening to me than the stuff that he did bring. He ended up not bringing the Mega Celix, which I think is just a gigantic problem with Body Press, as well as the Gyarados didn't come, and I overprepped for both of those. So he ended up putting himself in a position where it was actually pretty easy to get off a Shell Smash against this team. He brought Scarf Gardevoir, I remember that, and it did something. But I basically, because he didn't have Earthquake on his Tangrowth, I could switch in Duraludon every single time on it. This is the one game Duraludon came to the entire season, by the way. And it wasn't even that good in this game. I was just bringing it for the sake of fucking bringing it. Because it was, like, kind of decent at switching into Zapdos. And I think I prepped for Togedemaru. Like, I over-prepped for Togedemaru, and this was, like, my Togedemaru check. Terrible Pokemon. Holy crap, I'm never drafting this again. Can you believe I took this round 3? Oh my god. So many regrets about that. Holy shit. Anyways, yeah, I seem to remember that's what happened, and then I ended up getting a freeze with Smash Choice and won the game from there. I froze the Tangrowth on a Power Whip or something. I think the Power Whip would have been a roll. We were discussing it after the game, and I think he said that the Power Whip would have been a roll because of my bulk investment, but yeah, that was definitely a winning condition for me was doing that because I was outspeeding Scarf and Fernape with this, as you can see here. Scarf and Fernape at +2. Next game we played was terrible against Shiny Spam and an unwinnable matchup for me, in my opinion, because I think Mega Scissor plus Gliscor is probably the most broken combination in an area where you can't have hidden power. Um, there's not a lot that gets like Flamethrower plus Ice Beam. You're looking at probably Mew, and I can't think of anything else off the top of my head that actually gets asked. Slowbro. Mew and Slowbro, perhaps. The problem with Slowbro is that it's slower than both Gliscor and Scissor, and the problem with Mew is that it's weak to Scissor, so as well as Slowbro. But there's not that much that actually gets legitimate Fire plus Ice coverage, um, so it's a really difficult core to prep for, and I don't remember actually doing anything well in this game. I remember he gave me a kill for some reason. I don't remember why he did, but he just like handed me, was it Salazzle? I think he handed me Salazzle on a platter for some reason when he could have like 6-0'd or 5-0'd me. Crobat just got to kill it for free when he had an easy switch in the Gliscor on my Crobat, and he could just stall me out. Actually, I think I ended up playing around the Gliscor really well by taunting it over and over again, but my Serp set didn't work out because I had this cool Serp set design with me and Look Worry Seed and Leech Seed to sort of change the ability on Gliscor and then just like stall it out, but he had U-turn on it, so it just completely invalidated this entire Serp set, which was such a good idea in theory, but in hindsight was absolutely terrible. And actually, this really cool Lele set could have done work, but I don't remember what happened to it, so that happened. Besides the Mega Scissor, this Lele set actually looked pretty solid to me. Charge Beam boosting on things that would want to switch in. And in theory, Iron Defense was really good against the Scissor, but unfortunately, Lele doesn't get rest. Not legally until post DLC, so that was not anything that I could have worked with there. Week 7, we played Dougal, and I hacked Dougal in this one, but I'm not entirely sure how much it mattered in this case. I know it definitely mattered for differential, but I ended up doing what? I crit his Aerodactyl with my Superior. Where is it? Week 7. I crit his Aerodactyl with my Serp with a Leaf Storm. I glared it and then crit it with Leaf Storm, and that was pretty much the game for Blastoise from there. Blastoise got a bunch of kills and cleaned that one up. Specs Hoopa got 1 or something. I want to say it got at least 1. It did a tremendous amount of damage to the Drapion. I don't remember much of this game anymore. It's not really coming back to me. For some reason, my wins, I'm having a harder time remembering than my losses. Oh, right, this Terrakion set died to like Seismitoad or something. It got toxic. Oh, it got toxic by Poison Fang Drapion or something. Yeah, this is kind of a cool Terrakion set actually with Sacred Sword. It's just a really fun rocker and kind of bypassed bulk up boosts from Corviknight, or Iron Defense boosts from Corviknight with Sacred Sword, but ended up not mattering at all. This win kind of kept me in the playoff race to an extent, because it put me in 3 wins at the time, and 7 weeks in, 3 wins. I was, what, 3-4 at the time, so that wasn't actually terrible. I thought I could pull through to playoff spot, because I knew that I needed to upset one of my week 6 through 8 games, or 6 through 9 games? I'm not sure. 7 through 9. I knew I needed to upset one of my 7 through 9 games to be able to have a shot at playoffs and then still win week 10, which we obviously did later, but beating Dougal was an upset that I was happy with because it meant that I still had a shot at playoffs. Week 8, we played Justin and then 2 Centuriantars. This was actually a really well played game. I had a lot of fun playing this game. I overprepped for the Obstagoon, I think, by even bringing Terrakion in the first place to this one, and it wasn't super great for me. With this Terrakion set, I kind of just got hardwalled by Clefable and Megalodios because it was designed as an Obstagoon check, which didn't even show up against me, perhaps because of the Tracheon. I'm not entirely sure otherwise why. Could have been that he was scared. Pardon me. Could have been that he was scared of Tapu Lele. And taking the speed to tie with Lele is kind of EX anyways. There was like Boots Volcanion that was just switched into my Blastoise or something. Or his switch into Heatran? I don't even remember what it was. But I brought a especially defensive Blastoise to check that anyways, and Life Dew Blastoise actually almost pulled through this game. It ended up 1v1ing the P2 or something. I was on the brink of 1v1 in Clefable at 1v1 Volcanion. I ended up choking a differential point away, and I didn't kill the Excadrill when I had a chance in Torrent range later on. But Beedrill was looking like my best answer to a lot of stuff on this team. I crit through his Hippowdon earlier into the game or something with Dumb Eyes, I want to say. I want to say it was Dumb Eyes. I can't remember. I know that Taunt Lele actually came in really clutch against the P2 in this game, but Megalodios was just too big of a problem for me to deal with without my Beedrill around, and he outplayed me in prep with Shuka Drill. I was kind of anticipating more of an offensive item, and he ended up being Shuka for my drill run, and I got screwed by that. I ended up losing the game 3-0 or something, but it was a really well played game. I had a lot of fun, and I think I probably could have won that if I'd played better around Shuka Drill, or just simply attacked it instead of switching on it. I think at one point I rapid spun on it, and it Swords Danced and had Shadow Claw. So that was all bad. Lapis, I don't even know what to say about this game. I didn't draft a normal type. Or did I draft the normal type? No, I didn't draft the normal type. So even after all of my transactions, because at this point I had made all of my transactions, which we'll talk about in a bit, but no normal type, and so Mono Phantom Force Dragapult just like demolished me. That game was like super embarrassing. I pretty much prepped more for other Dragapult sets, and I didn't really consider a Mono Phantom Force set. I was thinking like Specs or something, but it didn't end up coming at all like that, and I didn't have anything for Specs anyways. Like Heatran was my check to Specs, but I ended up having to rely on Blastoise, and I didn't run Roar. I ran Ice Beam instead, so she didn't even have to disable Roar because she just disabled Ice Beam, and then I was screwed because I had no other way to break like a sub of this Dragon Dance monster that just outsped everything, and at +1 it killed my entire team at +1. So that was pretty terrible. I felt really terrible after this loss, actually, especially because I lost 6-0. It basically, not only did it push me completely out of trying to make playoffs, which I still may have had a chance at if I had beaten Aaron in the last week, and I didn't lose 6-0, but this pushed me really far down into relegation territory, and it required me not only to beat Aaron, but to beat Aaron by a lot to get myself out of relegation territory where I didn't have to rely on someone else beating someone else. Luckily for me, Furf is giving up the spot anyways, but yeah, that 6-0, if I could have even only gotten one kill out of this game, or if I had not choked and actually just killed the Excadrill against Justin, then it wouldn't have even had to have been in my control anymore because Aaron would have been sitting in the relegation spot. Now, granted, I'm much happier now being able to stay in Kakuna and have Aaron still in Kakuna because Aaron's a really good friend of mine, so I have a lot more fun playing against Aaron than seeing him drop to Weedle and me stay in Kakuna, so I'm definitely okay with the way that this happened now, and it's probably even better that way. But in hindsight, I could have avoided this entirely by just killing the Excadrill instead of clicking Life Dew and thinking I could outlast it, because I definitely could not. Blastoise was not going to be able to win that game. So I don't really need to go over my team for Lapis, but like I had absolutely nothing for it. And then in week 10, we took on Aaron, and Expert Belt Physical Smash Choice ended up pulling through this game. I know I led with Noivern, which caught the Ferroseed off guard, and that was a pretty easy sort of scout on what was going on there. And I think the turning point of this game, because Ferroseed was the only thing that was stopping my physical Blastoise from just winning the game, because he ended up not being as physically bulky on the Mantine as I thought he would be. Excuse me. So, And he didn't bring in Cineroar, which was an Intimidate mon for him, and Staraptor wasn't running Intimidate, and Mega Mawile was already Mega'd. So I basically had everything go right for me, and I knew that Gothitelle didn't have a great trapping matchup against me just because of all of the U-turn on my team, as well as just having Mega Beedrill in general, and having Hoopa-Unbound. Like, there wasn't a lot of good trap targets for Gothitelle in this game besides, like, Virizion, I want to say. Perhaps Heatran, but Heatran is faster and can taunt it, so yeah, there wasn't a good trapping matchup for Gothitelle, so he ended up putting himself in a position where I was able to kill the Ferroseed with Focus Blast, Tapu Lele, because I was Kebia. I actually got 2 kills with this because I was Kebia, because I killed the Ferroseed and then I killed the Scolipede that attacked me afterwards. So that was fun. But yeah, physical Smash Choice put in tons and tons and tons of work in this game and pulled out the dub for me. So let's go back to the dock now and finish things up here with my stats and whatnot and talk about that now that we've recapped every single match. So I didn't have anything like that good lower down, but Blastoise actually ended up finishing 4th in kills. Well, this is actually differential, so 4th in differential, 13 and 4 plus 9. Excadrill was just dominant all season, but I'm very happy to have Blastoise up that high. I think Blastoise in tier 4 was criminally under tiered, and I hope that my performance with Blastoise at least is something where they sort of fix that tiering wise for next season. It should definitely be at least tier 3A, and it was just sitting there in tier 4, which I think was just an absolute crime. There's no way that it should have been that low at all. And you know, it was solid. It was solid. I really enjoyed using Blastoise, and I would definitely take it again. I've said that in the past about it in other leagues as well, when it was just purely used as a defensive water, but as an offensive water, it's actually quite good with the coverage that it gets, and Shell Smash is just an absolutely broken setup move, so I was content with that, to say the least. So let's look at the stats now. I'll just jump down here in my stats. So Lele didn't do super duper hot. 5 and 7 came to 7 games. Hoopa-Unbound came to 4, 2 and 3. Not really that great. Crobat came to 5 games, 2 and 4. Serp came to 3 games when I had it, 1 and 3. Duraludon came to 1 game, did nothing. Mudsdale, 4 games, 1 and 4. Mega Beedrill, 5 games, 5 kills, 4 deaths. I mean, could have been better. Blastoise was really the star of the team. Tracheon died in all 6 games it came to and only got 2 kills. Victini came to 7 games, 2 and 4. Lanturn, 3 games, 1 and 1. And then in terms of what I traded, none of them did anything remotely usable. Heatran came to 3 games, died twice. Delmise, 2 games, died twice. Noivern, 1 game, did nothing. Thundurus, 2 games, died once. And Virizion didn't even come to a single game. So this entire season was pretty much only on the back of Blastoise. Mega Beedrill had a few options in terms of using Felstinger sets against people, and I think that it could have done more, but there was nothing as consistent as Blastoise for me this entire season, to be honest. Besides Victini, which actually ended up coming to every single game until I traded it to Ben. But that's pretty much my recap for that. In terms of what I would use and wouldn't use again, I mean, I've used Hoopa in the past well. I think that I probably dug a little bit too deep for it. I think I took it round 2, and then I ended up taking, what was it? I ended up taking Duraludon right after that, which was just a complete waste of a pick. Had I taken just Noivern in the first place instead of Duraludon at all, then I think that might have been a little bit better, but yeah, I don't really know. I don't really regret taking Hoopa because it was nice to have a Dark type, but I did have triple Psychic early on, and the team felt very Breaker heavy, and there wasn't a lot of like setup besides the Blastoise, which was fine in the end because setup Blastoise ended up winning so many games. I was trying to play around with pivots into Lele and things like that, but I don't really know. I think I probably, if I wanted to have more success this season, I probably should have just drafted an entirely different team. I really wanted Ferrothorn and like Lele Ferrothorn, and then Arf took it before I could even get it. So that ended up falling flat on its face too. I'm not entirely sure how I could have changed this to make it better, but maybe making the trades earlier. I actually do think that Virizion wasn't terrible on the team compared to Terrakion, which looked terrible on the team. I probably chose way too high of a tier of a fighting type. I just kind of enamored with Terrakion and how well I've done with it in tour play, like 8-mon tournaments, rather than Verzion, which I tend to not use super duper well. I do have a title with Verzion though. No, I dropped that in that season, didn't I? I traded that, so I don't have a title with Verzion. But I do think in hindsight, Verzion is actually not that terrible, and I probably should have just taken Verzion instead, and maybe look to grab a better value pick in Tier 1 than Terrakion, something that maybe fit the team a little bit better. The problem with that is that there wasn't a lot available. So looking at the tier list here, right, like end of the season, you're looking at Jirachi, Latios, Manaphy. I mean, I probably could have taken Manaphy, but I already had Blastoise. Jirachi, I had Heatran by the end of the season, so that doesn't really matter. Latios, I mean, what was my dragon? My dragon was Noivern, but it was just another psychic type. Like Jirachi and Latios were both another psychic type for me, and I already had Lele, Lele Hoopa. Because I opted into Tier 1B Lele, which is, I mean, I don't even think Tier 1B Lele was a good play. I think it probably should have still been Tier 1A. But opting into Tier 2A Hoopa was just not very smart. Not very smart at all. Yeah, so, I mean, I think that's it. I don't have anything else to talk about. The only other thing I normally cover in my season recaps, to my knowledge, is my overall kill leaders and sort of how I felt like they stacked up and where Mons this season pushed themselves on my all-time kill leader list. But I'm gonna have more content coming out for another season that's updated on there now, and it would be too much of a pain for me to go back and undo all of that before just to record it for this Hive recap. So, in summary, the season didn't go fantastic. It could have gone a little bit better. Probably could have gone a little bit worse as well had I not gotten some luck-based wins. Probably wasn't going to be playoff caliber season anyways, even based on all of that. So happy enough with not relegating, and I will be back in Kakuna next season, and I'll definitely be uploading next season as well, because it's a nice fast way for me to earn a bunch of honey towards auctions. So that's gonna be it for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this entire season of Hive Kakuna, and I will catch you guys for the next one.